Welcome to Worldwide Hustlers. This is Matt Albert bringing you tips and advice on health, wealth, and your happiness. In this video, we're going to be talking about analyzing a piece of property on whether or not it's worth buying for rental property. So I invest in real estate, I own some real estate, and actually I'm getting ready to buy another piece of real estate. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and smash the like button. So what we'll do is we'll get started. I have a small little board here I'm going to be using. So first thing we're going to do is there's 4 areas that I look at before I buy a piece of property, and you should too, because it is detrimental. The first part of any property is figuring out your income. The property that I'm going to be looking at, or I am buying right now, and this is it right here, okay, it is a duplex. And for the rental income, it brings in $1,200 per side, meaning for 2 units, we're looking at $2,400. Now, in addition to this, there can be other income. You can have laundry, which I don't have, it's a duplex. A lot of times that would be on a bigger piece of property, maybe a 6-plex or an 8 unit or above. You can have parking. I actually had to pay parking when I lived in Denver. It was like an extra $50 a month. It was a garage that was ventilated. It had heat and AC and everything, so they charged extra for that. I've actually charged in the past on other rental properties a monthly pet fee. Yeah, believe it or not, I've done this. Like $10 a pet, maybe a maximum of 2 pets, depends on their size. So that's totally up to you. But for now, as you can see, we have rental, so I'm looking at about $2,400. I don't have a laundry facility. I do not have parking, anything extra there, and I'm not going to do the pet fee thing right now. If they do have a pet, I'll probably allow at least 1 to 2 pets at the most, but $2,400. So income, this is going to be the first thing we look at, okay? So let's get started on the next piece here. And our next one is going to be, you guessed it, we need to know what are expenses. What are your expenses? Now, for mine, obviously, I know we have tax. On my taxes, I'm getting ready to go over that with you. We have, obviously, we have insurance. You have taxes, insurance. You have utilities. And with utilities, you can this can be water, obviously, gas, electric. Okay, for electric, I have electric down because in some places, like let's say you have a 3-plex or a 4-plex or a smaller apartment, there might be some exterior lighting that you have to pay for that it come in, you'll be billed. Now, if you do, I know some buddies that own single family homes, like larger ones, like 4, 5, 6 bedrooms, and they rent each bedroom out separately. And then what they'll do in that case is that they'll actually pay the electric bill for the property. It makes it more enticing for the tenants, and they make good money with this because they're renting the rooms out anywhere from, let's say, $800 to $1,200 per room. And some of these homes have 5 and 6 bedrooms. So you can imagine what kind of monthly income they're bringing in. So them paying a $400 electric bill, right, it's not that big of a deal, plus it's tax deductible. So, and then also there are other fees that you might have to pay with your expenses. So we have HOA fees, which honestly try to stay away from. They're not the end of the world, but they kind of creep up and they can kind of have some other issues later down the road. So you kind of want to stay away from HOA fees. Repairs, you might want to have a monthly allotment for your repairs to put in there. And also CapEx. This is your capital expenditures here. And then you have management, if you're going to have somebody manage your property. And over here, I'm going to put mortgage. Unless you paid cash for the property, you will have a mortgage. So I know what my expenses are. For my taxes, I'm looking at $450 a month for my taxes. For my insurance, I know I'm looking at about $150 for my insurance. Utilities, I'm not going to have any utilities. For HOA fees, I'm not going to have any HOA fees either. So I do not have any utilities because I'm not paying these. I don't have any HOA fees. Repairs, this is a brand new house or duplex. For now, I'm just going to leave this blank just for now. Normally I do put something aside, but I'm not this time. If something breaks, obviously I'm going to have to fix it. CapEx, capital expenditures, this will be, okay, repairs are for if something breaks in the house, because tenants, you have wear and tear. You have a family of 4, 5, 6 people flushing the toilet all the time, using the sinks, washing clothes, open up the garage door, back and forth. Things are going to break. You got to repair those. That's on us, the landlord, landladies. And then for CapEx, these are your bigger items. So I'm going to put 100 for this. So CapEx would be like replacing your roof. Because if you're not putting money aside now, let's say 10 years from now, the roof gets destroyed, you're going to come out of your pocket $20,000. Where's that coming from? So you might as well start putting some money aside now. Other things could be CapEx, could be maybe painting the entire house all the way around, the back fence, maybe replacing all the fencing. These are more large, bigger ticket items. And usually they come through in a cycle like every 10 or 20 years. These are your bigger items. Or maybe the driveway. Maybe the driveway, something happens and you got to fix it. So, but for CapEx, I put 100, and then for management, I've already talked to them, and I'm looking at about 200. And I do know what my mortgage is going to be. My mortgage is going to be close to, or it's going to be right about $800. So my mortgage is 800. My management fees 200. My CapEx I'm putting aside is 100. So that's, and then my insurance is 150. My taxes are 450. So I'm looking at 800, 200, it's 1,000 plus 100, it's 1,100. And then we've got, that's 1,100. And then up here we've got 6, 7. So I'm looking at around $1,800. $1,800. This is going to be my expenses, $1,800. So remember this number, 1,800. All right. So now we're done with that. Next up, we are going to get into what we call cash flow. Okay, so now what is the cash flow? So the income we talked about already, we know just from the rents, because it's a duplex, $1,200 per side, we're looking at $2,400. Now the expenses we just talked about, and that was $1,800. And obviously the cash flow is going to be the difference. So we're looking at 600, roughly 600. $600. So here is my cash flow. This is the goose. The duplex is the goose, and here's the golden egg. So we're looking at 600 a month. Okay, so we've had income, that was one area we talked about, expenses, and then the third area we talked about was cash flow. Now there's one more area we need to talk about, and that's going to be what they call, if you really want to talk about it, this is your return on your investment. And they call this cash on cash return. Your cash on cash return. So what is it going to take me to buy this property? So I know, based on my lender, I'm looking at like, what do I got to bring to closing? So everything, your closing costs added together, my down payment is going to be $50K. Okay, that I know. And then what else are we looking at besides? So then I also have what? Closing costs. I'm going to put CC. I know what my closing costs are going to be. I've already got talked to my lender on this. Closing costs are your legal fees, your appraisal fees, lawyer fees, the title search, all of this stuff to make sure it's got a clean title. And I know that this is going to be around $5K. I've already spoke with them. Now I could have some rehabilitation or rehab, like if I was going to buy a fixer-upper and then fix it up and then flip it. This property here, it's brand new. I'm not flipping it. I'm keeping it. I'm going to keep this long term. So for rehab, I'm going to put 0. So my total out-of-pocket expenses, my total investment is going to be $55K. That's my total investment. Now, cash on cash, how do we come up with this number here? How do I find out what my return on investment is? what you'll do, okay, we talked about the rental income being $600. That's what that came out to. So 600 times 12 is 7,200. Okay, so now we know what the yearly cash flow is. Divide that by my total investment, put that over here, 55,000, and that comes up to, we have, let me see here, 7,200 divided by 55K. All right, that comes up to 13%. This 13% is my return. This is what my ROI is. So 13%. Now, 13% is pretty good. I consider 13% good. I'm looking, when I look at properties anywhere from around 9, I'm looking at, I want to hit the 10 mark. From 10 anywhere on up is good for return on investment, because okay, I invest in the stock market also. It's a part of my portfolio, and I can tell you, if you look at the stock market through its beginnings, I mean, from the beginning to the end, it's usually averaged between, I think, 6 to 8% on average, whether, you know, the ups and downs and everything, 6 to 8%. And 13% is actually really, really good, okay? So now there's other ways that you can evaluate this. This is my cash on cash. They have total rate of return. You have your internal total investment. There's different other things that you can do to figure out your cash on cash, like how good the investment is. But there's not a lot of room on this to figure all that out right now. But based on this 13%, okay, 13% is pretty good. You're looking at your cash flow. There's two main things that I look at. One is your monthly cash flow, and the other one is your cash on cash. Now, you could say, what if that my cash on cash return was only, let's say, 3% and not 13? What if it was only 3%? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, well, it depends. How much money what if I bought this property at closing for, instead of 55K, maybe I only had to put down 20 bucks. Okay, so for 20 bucks, I'm getting a 3% return. Now it turns out to be a great deal, right? Or what if this property that I'm buying, what if I'm buying this for, like, let's say 220K, but let's say right after I close, I find out that all the other properties in the area are worth around the same, except mine, technically, for some reason, it's worth $1 million. Okay, so then all of a sudden it's a really, really good deal. Basically wraps up how I invest in properties. Like I said, when you're looking at property, one thing I will say is when you're doing your expenses, a lot of times investors will underestimate the expenses and they overestimate the income, which isn't good, because these numbers are available. You can find these numbers anywhere. You get with your realtor, you get with the realtor, they're going to tell you exactly what this thing rents for, especially if it's already been rented. You can find all these numbers out. There's no way you should mess this up. For my rents, I can find out. I subscribe to a website, I think it's called Rent-O-Meter, and I can find out better what rents are in that area, comparables. So I can find out what good rents are for a building of my size with those certain bedrooms, you know, so I'll know what it can rent for the most part. So anyway, this pretty much wraps up you know, how to analyze your numbers for purchasing real estate. If you're looking at getting into real estate, I definitely highly recommend doing something now. Now is the time. Even if it's a single family home, you can actually get into a single family home with an FHA loan for as low as 3% or maybe a little bit less. And then once you get into the house, let's say you have a 3 or 4 bedroom, you can rent the other rooms out, live in one room and rent the other ones out for, let's say, $600 to $700 a piece. So you could still make money on top. While you're living there, you can live rent free and put cash in your pocket every month. And this will be your way into the real estate game. There's other ways you can get involved. There's no money down techniques. There's creative ways. You can do trading. If you already own a piece of property, you can trade up and get something maybe bigger. You can, if you have equity right now in a piece of property, you can pull that equity out and turn around and reinvest it into more property. So that's actually a good way. I've got a buddy of mine that keeps doing that. He keeps putting the money into the next house, and then after he buys it, he pulls the money back out and gets the next one. So, and then from there, the sky's the limit. So if you would please leave a comment on what you invest in, if you have any investments, how many investments, and what you prefer. Do you prefer single family homes, or do you like multifamily? And if you do prefer one or the other, why do you prefer it? So, because I've heard pros and cons on both sides. So anyway, I thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, please. And if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. And I do appreciate you watching this, and I hope you got something from it. And if you would, share the video with somebody. All right, and I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video.